Welcome to the Building Newfoundland and Labrador podcast, dedicated to exploring the interesting journeys of the people in the provincial construction industry. Presented by the Newfoundland and Labrador Construction Association, produced by Gale Force Winds. Join us as we chat with the inspirational individuals that ensure the continued growth of the construction industry and the province of Newfoundland and Labrador.
And welcome to the Building Newfoundland and Labrador podcast. It is exciting to be at Build Expo 2023, and building things comes in many different forms, and I can't wait to get into the conversation here. I'm Alan Dale. With me as always, my good buddy Jerry Carew. Shalom, Rabbi. Welcome to the podcast. Please
Shalom.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, shalom to you. I'm Rabbi Chanan Chernitsky. I've been around the world quite a bit. I was born in Argentina. My parents decided that Argentina was not going to be the best thing for me and my siblings, so they decided to move out to Winnipeg. So 20 years ago, August 6, 2003, we moved to Winnipeg. I finished high school in Winnipeg. I actually became closer to Judaism when I was in Winnipeg. My family is Jewish but secular. I became closer to religious observance when I was in high school. And then this is important because after high school I went off to Morristown, New Jersey to a special Jewish academy. It's called a yeshiva in Hebrew, to pursue Jewish studies. So I was there for 3 years. I was in Morristown, New Jersey for 3 years. Then I continued Jewish studies in Montreal. I was there for 1 year. And then I went to Venice, Italy to pursue rabbinical ordination. I became a rabbi in Venice. I went back to Winnipeg that summer. It was 2012. I was hoping to continue studying in Brooklyn at the upcoming study term, but I was introduced to my wife, who was from Winnipeg. We got engaged soon afterwards. Courtship is very short in traditional circles. We got married in November 2012 in the cold Winnipeg winter. By us, the custom is to have a chuppah, wedding canopy, outdoors, yes, regardless of the weather. It could be 30 degrees in the summer, or minus 30 or minus 50 in the winter. So
you were outdoors?
We were outdoors. I think it was minus 20.
Wow. In November.
Yeah, end of November 28th, 2012. But of course I was focused on more transcendental things than the weather, so I didn't notice it as much. That was tongue-in-cheek. But so we got married in Winnipeg. We moved to Montreal soon after the wedding. I was at the time studying and receiving a stipend. My wife was working part-time. Then we had our first baby, a boy, in February 2014. I started to work as well. Long story short, a year and a half after that, we were looking for a place to move to serve as a rabbi and rabbi's wife, also known as Rebbetzin. And different things came up. They were looking for somebody to go to Hong Kong. It wasn't for us. There was a position in Thailand. Again, we weren't willing to go that far. A few positions in the States that came up. Didn't work for them, didn't work for us, until a good friend of mine who lived in Toronto put us in touch with a businessman in Toronto who owns some real estate here. And this fellow had been paying for young Jewish adults to come to Newfoundland for brief periods of time, just in for the holidays, let's say for Passover, which is just behind us. So these boys would come in from Toronto, New York, Montreal, whatever, and they would bring with them the special holiday things you cannot get here in Newfoundland, like let's say Passover, the matzah, the flatbread that we eat. So they would bring it with them. They would do a Passover celebration, and then they would leave. So he would pay for these young boys to do these types of things just for the holidays or just for the summer, and then they would fly back. So this fellow felt that Newfoundland was now ready for a permanent rabbi. So my friend put us in touch, and we came here in 2016. That means me, my wife, and then our 2 children. Now we have 6, thank God. And we checked on Newfoundland. We were here the last week of January 2016, so nobody could say we didn't know about the winter.
It was perfectly balmy compared to November in Winnipeg, right?
Yeah, exactly. I definitely take the winter here over any winter I've had. Winnipeg, Montreal, except for Florida, of course.
Yeah.
And so then we came back that same year in March and April. We're here for another month and a half. The week we spent at the end of January, we said it wasn't enough to make a decision. Yeah. It's a big decision. So we came back, we saw that there is what to do. The Jewish community is a little bit bigger than we had originally thought. So we spent the rest of 2016 raising seed money to support ourselves, at least, profess a little bit until we settled into the community. And then we took the plunge February 2017. February 12th, 2017 was a Sunday, and we never looked back.
Wow. So you've moved to Newfoundland. The Jewish community was starting to grow at that point. And you're in the process of building it more now?
Exactly. So we're part of the biggest Jewish group in the world. It's called Chabad. You probably saw that on the LinkedIn profile. So Chabad has a presence in over 100 countries and territories. And part of our mandate is to go to communities that either don't have Jewish infrastructure or could use a boost in the infrastructure. Where we stand out is that because the Jewish community here is so small, that allows us to have time to work with the general community. We have, for example, a mental health project called Moment of Silence, where we try to get schools to have 1 minute of silent reflection at the beginning of the school day for the children to think about a positive value that their parent or guardian shared with them. And this is really, really powerful because there is strong anecdotal evidence that from just this 1 minute, there is less stress in the schools, less crime, less youth crime, and less substance abuse. It's a moment for the children to ground themselves. They connect also with their parents or guardian because they have to tell them what they should be focusing on. And it has a lasting impact without putting religion into school.
Right.
That's one. We also have our friendship circle. So we started in November 2021 doing programs and events for special needs children and their families. So that's been really blowing up, thank God. It's been very, very successful. We have 3 main things that we do through the Friendship Circle. We have one big monthly event where it's like a big birthday party. Kids that usually don't get to go to birthday parties. We've done bowling, a drum circle. We're doing, in a few weeks, a painting party. We have our pen pal project. Any child, youth with a disability could sign up, get at least 1 letter a month from one of our volunteers. There's over 60 children throughout Newfoundland and Labrador getting letters from our over 30 volunteers. And then last but not least, we have our home visitation program where 2 community volunteers visit 1 special needs child at the child's house. And of course, last but not least, the Holocaust speaker series. We're bringing to town a Holocaust survivor this coming Sunday, May the 7th.
Okay.
She's speaking at the Convention Center at 6:30. And so this has been a yearly thing since 2018. And you can imagine, we get, thank God, hundreds of people to come out. Most of them are not Jewish, and that's great.
Right.
The message of the Holocaust, to stand up against hate, against racism, is for everybody, not just the Jewish community.
And that's this Sunday it's happening?
Yes, Sunday, May the 7th.
And where is it going to take place?
At the Convention Center on New Gower.
On the Convention Center, New Gower Street. That's worth attending for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
My wife's a teacher, and the Holocaust is certainly something they focus on. So, you're doing some stuff with the schools, I would imagine.
Yes. So she's actually talking for 2 high schools on Friday.
Excellent.
The survivor is landing tomorrow, and she's going to be speaking to about 400 students on Friday. Yeah.
And who is this person that's speaking?
Muguette Myers. She was born in France. She was 9 years old when the Nazis invaded, and they were very lucky. So her mother, and her brother escaped to a different town, and everybody in the town covered up for them. They said, "Oh no, there's no Jews here," and they helped them, pretend they were Catholics essentially, so as not to arouse any suspicion. And it's a beautiful thing because at a time when so many made the wrong choice and turned a blind eye, didn't stand up for the minorities that were being persecuted, these people did.
This town.
What's the name of the town?
I don't know how to say properly. Champlot is Champlost.
Chabot, okay?
Yeah.
Wow, the whole town. It's incredible, eh?
Yeah.
To think. And the whole family survived, and
I don't know the details, but so her mother and brother who stuck together, they all survived. I'm not sure about her father.
Right.
We'll find out on Sunday.
Find out on Sunday.
Yeah.
How big is the community here in St. John's? And there's a synagogue here in town, yeah?
Yeah, so 2 points. We used to say that there are 1,000 Jews in Newfoundland. Now we say there's 500. We have not met 500, but based on the people that we know, we could safely estimate that there's a few more, that we don't know. And yes, there is a synagogue on Elizabeth Avenue.
Right.
there are three main denominations today in the Jewish world, what you would call Orthodox, which I hate that term, but let's say traditional, conservative, and Reform. So the synagogue is conservative. We know them very well, they're wonderful people, but we are not connected to them at any official level. We run our own show, we run in parallel, sometimes we do events together, but for most of the year we run on parallel, we all do, which do different things.
Rabbi, many of our viewers, me included, wouldn't understand the difference between the three groups. Could you explain that?
Yeah, sure. So what I said before as Orthodox, or I prefer to say traditional, but the people that stick to Judaism the way we got it from Moses. You know the story, Moses went to Mount Sinai, he got the Torah and the tablets, so Orthodox sticks to that without deviating an inch. Then Reform came around about 200 years ago, more or less, started in Germany, right, the place of the free thinkers, and they wanted to assimilate Jews into mainstream society. And so they reform, as the name goes, Judaism, doing away with many different laws and customs. Then conservative came out, if I'm not mistaken, in the early 1900s as a response to reform. The people that, well, they were not reformed, they were not Orthodox, they fell somewhere in the middle, and so they came together, and conservative came around again, so more traditional than reform, not following everything as Orthodox, quote unquote.
Right. A great explanation, and thank you very much for that. You're here at the Expo, you're building Newfoundland and Labrador, you're building a community. What does the importance of being at the show mean to you?
I think it's very important. We always are looking for new partners, you know. Whenever you do something significant, you cannot do it by yourself. And we've seen ever since we moved in 2017 that we need to seek out these relationships, people that want to partner with us so we could make Newfoundland a better place for everybody to live, not just for the Jewish community.
Rabbi, thank you very much for joining us on our show. I'll tell you, it's such a mitzvah that you've chosen to make Newfoundland your home and bring your wife and your 6 children here. I wish you much success in building your community here, and thank you for being part of this. It's a real pleasure.
Absolute pleasure, Rabbi. Thank you.
Thank you for making time for me.
Thank you for tuning in to the Building Newfoundland and Labrador podcast, presented by the Newfoundland and Labrador Construction Association, produced by Gale Force Winds.